Good morning and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for fire and emergency management, joined with oversight and investigation. Please silence all cell phone and electronic devices. Please do not approach the dais. We'll be more than happy to help you. Chairs, we're ready to begin.
Good morning. I'm Councilmember Joanne Ariola, and I am Chair to the Committee on Fire and Emergency Management. I am joined by committee members who are present: Schulman, Carr, De La Rosa, Holden, and additionally, Councilmember Hanif. Today's hearing, held jointly with the Committee on Oversight and Investigation, chaired by my esteemed colleague, Gail Brewer, Councilmember Brewer, will examine emergency planning, notifications, and response to citywide flooding events. An unfortunate reality for our city has become the increasing frequency of significant flooding by heavy rainfall or coastal storms. These events have debilitated our city's infrastructure, stranded motorists and commuters, and endangered the lives of city residents and first responders. New York City Emergency Management, NYSEM, serves the vital role of coordinating the emergency planning and multi-agency responses to severe weather events that impact the city. Of significant relevance here, the city's flash flood emergency plan, which has been activated at increasing regularity, guides how the city prepares for and responds to flooding events in the hopes of mitigating harm to life and property. Among other measurements, the plan calls for targeted cleaning and maintenance of recurring flooding locations to ensure debris is cleared from streets and catch basins. The monitoring of recurring flood locations to improve responses during a flood event and to help direct recovery efforts, and also dewatering operations by the FDNY equipment and personnel at critical streets and intersections across the city. The agencies we have joining us today play significant roles in executing these plans: NYSEM, the FDNY, and the Department of Environmental Protection, DEP. We are interested in examining these plans, how they've evolved, how they've been implemented, including the recent flooding events in late September that caused significant damage to the city. Additionally, NYSEM operates the emergency notification systems for the city through Notify NYC. As preparedness relies on awareness, we look forward to speaking with NYSEM about ongoing efforts to improve emergency notification and ensure more receive life-saving information during these events. Finally, the Fire and Emergency Management Committee will be hearing 3 pieces of legislation about emergency planning and response to air quality emergencies. Introduction number 1199, sponsored by Councilmember Ressler, would require that the Department of Environmental Protection to declare on any day on which the air quality index is expected to or does exceed 150 as a Spare the Air Day, and to post on its website and publicly disseminate information concerning air quality emergency. The bill would also require the DEP to work with other agencies to implement emergency response protocols on Spare the Air days, including by ensuring that all clean air centers are open to the public, distributing face masks, opening high occupancy vehicle HOV lanes, and creating short-term access to shelters for homeless individuals. Introduction number 1200, also sponsored by Councilmember Ressler, would require NYSEM to develop and implement a plan to ensure that notifications relating to air quality emergencies are frequent, timely, disseminated in advance of the emergency to the extent possible, and include the expected air quality index, and include information about how to stay safe during the emergency. And finally, Introduction 1201 would require NYSEM to develop and implement a comprehensive plan to address air quality emergencies in the city, involving in part the identification of other governmental agencies NYSEM must contact, identification of circumstances under which OEM would call upon the other jurisdictions for assistance, and the creation or designation of clean air centers for use by the public. These measures are to protect health of public safety during an emergency. And we need to know what measures you have in place to inform the public about an emergency, limiting the use of the city's motor vehicle fleet during an emergency, and measures to reduce the deterioration of air quality. I look forward to hearing the administration public testimony on these topics, and thank you all for coming to today's hearing. I yield now to my co-chair, council member and chair, Gail Brewer.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Ariola. I am Gail Brewer, Chair of Committee on Oversight and Investigations. I want to welcome everyone here and look forward to working with the Committee on Fire and Emergency Management regarding the flooding disaster on September 29th. On that particular day, I know the MTA is not here today, but just so you know, I was on a train trying to get to what I thought was going to be the mayor's press conference. I didn't think he was going to cancel it, and I was damned if I wasn't going to get to it. So I just sat on the train for about 3 hours. I met all my constituents. It was a very nice experience, but the train never moved. And to be honest with you, even though we were told constantly the train is not moving, we were never told when it would move. There were 3 trains out, buses were very slow. There was actually no way to get downtown at that point, no cabs, et cetera. So it really was a disaster in many different ways. Over the last decade, we know that climate change has emerged as an ever-present threat to the city's infrastructure and health, and not just when it comes to big hurricanes like Sandy. As temperatures rise, more ocean water evaporates, and routine rainstorms now threaten to drop so much water so quickly that they bring the city to a halt, as we know. The ever-intensifying threat of climate change is disruptive and more sudden, but it's not necessarily unpredictable, and that's why we're here today. We know it's coming, and the city has developed systems that are supposed to warn New Yorkers ahead of extreme weather so they can change plans and take precautions. Most New Yorkers found themselves on that day surprised and unprepared for the late September downpour, finding themselves on subway platforms that were flooding or stranded in different boroughs with no way to get home. Why were so many New Yorkers caught unaware by one of these increasingly predictable storms? Today, we are here to examine the city's response to the flooding and especially its public outreach efforts in the hours before the rain began. We want to consider whether the tools we have in place, like Notify NYC, which I have, but it does talk so much about who got lost or who's missing, that I must admit I don't pay as much attention to it as I should. And I think it's something we have to think about as a tool. But we have it, and it meets the needs of our city and reaching residents for some, but not everyone. And I do think it needs a different retooling. We have serious misgivings about how engaged the mayoral administration was on the matter in the hours before the storm bore down. I do want to thank many people for putting together today's hearings, from the Oversight and Investigations Committee staff, Legislative Counsel Nicole Catal, Legislative Policy Analyst Eric Cohen and Alex Yablon, and Financial Policy Analyst Oren Kotowski, and the entire Oversight and Division staff, Aaron Mendelson, Meg Powers, Kevin Frick, Zachary Mayer, and Katie Sinise, and from my office, Sam Goldsmith, and thank you very much.
I'll now turn over to Committee Counsel for the swearing in of those testifying.
Thank you, chairs. We will now hear testimony from the administration. We'll hear from Christina Farrell from NYSEM, Chief John Esposito, Chief of Fire Operations, FDNY, Kim Cipriano from DEP, and John Shea from the DOE. Before we begin, I will administer the affirmation. Panelists, please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions? Thank you. You may begin when ready.
Good morning, members of the City Council. I am Christina Farrell, First Deputy Commissioner at New York City Emergency Management, and I'm here to discuss the weather impacts to New York City on September 29th, 2023, inclusive of our preparedness and response to that emergency event. I am joined today by Deputy Chief Operating Officer Kim Cipriano from the New York City Department of Environmental Protection, Chief John Esposito from the New York City Fire Department, and as has been mentioned, John Shea from New York City Public Schools. First, I want to briefly discuss the naming of this storm. There have been various entities who, in the days following the event, called this storm the remnants of Ophelia. However, this weather pattern did not meet the National Weather Service definition of a remnant storm. In fact, the remnants of Ophelia had entirely dissipated several days beforehand, and the Weather Service has stated they will not be calling this a remnant system in their storm reporting. This is important because as the city's official weather partner, we should endeavor to ensure our messaging is aligned with the Weather Service. Additionally, although storm names can be useful for warning the public, they can also be a detriment if used incorrectly because it gives the false impression that it takes a named storm to produce significant impacts. This is false, and the public should know that not every storm in the future will come with a name. Stated correctly, this was a flash flood event. Second, to understand how the city responds to flash flood emergencies, it's important to understand the science behind it and the challenges with respect to flash flood prediction. The first challenge is meteorological and includes factors such as the speed, strength, and evolution of the parent storm system, the intensity and motion of individual storm cells in bands that are producing heavy rain, and whether new cells are developing and impacting the same area or neighborhood multiple times. Due to the chaotic nature of weather modeling, it is not always possible to predict these factors far in advance, as there is an inherent uncertainty with respect to heavy rainfall prediction. There is very little lead time, perhaps only an hour or so, to accurately identify the precise location and intensity of this rainfall. This means that the Weather Service might be able to identify a flash flood threat for the tri-state area or for the city as a whole with enough lead time to activate the emergency plan and warn the public, but predicting rainfall at smaller scales, such as by borough or neighborhood or street level, isn't possible until the storm is bearing down on the city. This correlates to a distribution dilemma. I'm sure you've observed this phenomenon yourself when you've seen some portions of the city experiencing very heavy rainfall while other areas are entirely dry. By contrast, snow tends to fall much more uniformly across a given geographical area, which is why winter weather advisories and warnings are issued up to 48 hours in advance. The high variability in the distribution of rainfall, however, means flood advisories and flash flood warnings are issued only an hour or so in advance, or in some cases, as the storm is ongoing. This is compounded by the fact that small changes in the intensity, movement, and development of a storm can result in large changes to the forecast. A shift of only a few miles can be the difference between minimal and major, potentially catastrophic impact. There have been major advancements in weather forecasting over the past several decades, but even if the most skilled meteorologists using the most advanced supercomputers and weather models in the world were able to provide an accurate and precise rainfall forecast, that does not mean we can perfectly locate the extent and depth of flooding. This is the second primary challenge of flash flood prediction. It is a hydrological issue, that is, an ability to identify the movement, circulation, and dispersion of stormwater runoff across the city's watershed. Imagine, for example, taking 1 gallon of water and pouring it out over the intersection of Broadway and Park Place. We might be able to estimate where the water would go, how much of it would flow across the concrete toward low-lying areas or seep through cracks and into the soil, but it would only be an educated guess. Now consider that 1 inch of rain falling over an acre of land equates to about 27,000 gallons of water. When you take into account a storm producing 3 to 4 inches of rain over the city's nearly 200,000 acres of land, that is nearly 20 billion gallons of stormwater runoff. Other influences also determine where flooding will occur, such as the extent of porous and non-porous surfaces, extant soil moisture content, tidal levels, the steepness of the terrain, and more. When we consider these factors and layer them onto the vast and varied landscape of New York City, in addition to the forecast challenges and variability of heavy rainfall, you begin to understand all that we take into account as we plan and respond to these storms. We combat these challenges in numerous ways. First, we maintain an extremely close relationship with the New York National Weather Service New York Forecast Office. Our Watch Command and our in-house meteorologists monitor Weather Service discussions, products, and data 24/7, 365, and distribute forecast information to a list of over 3,200 partner contacts when inclement weather is predicted. We also communicate directly with the Weather Service through their online chat service and through consultations we hold both internally and with our city and private partners. Additionally, we have a third-party vendor, which provides supplemental data and support before, during, and after significant weather events. We are also working towards bringing in additional outside party modeling and mapping of rainfall, flood, inundation, which is a new and emerging field of technology and data. I also want to note that no two storms will ever be the same. Each will leave its own unique impact on the city, even if the weather patterns between storms are similar. This is to say that future storms will produce flooding in areas that perhaps haven't seen significant flooding in the past. All that said, we hope you see that New York City knows a great deal about our vulnerability to rain-induced flooding and has given its impacts and consequences significant thought and time when planning for these emergencies. The city first released its flash flood emergency plan in 2009, which is the most activated of all emergency plans. Throughout the years, emergency management has made improvements to our response strategies and addressing of flood risk, especially following the catastrophic events of post-tropical cyclone Ida in 2021. These improvements include an embedded meteorologist within the agency, the hiring of a third-party weather vendor to supplement our coordination with the Weather Service, the revamping of the flash flood emergency plan to have a risk-based and scaled approach with expanding strategies, and utilizing and supporting the advancement of the city's flood sensor network, FloodNet, to give us real-time flooding information. The city's Notify NYC alert system is a critical tool, especially for residents living in basement apartments, because these units are often more susceptible to flooding and other emergency situations. Receiving real-time weather and emergency alerts enables these residents to make timely and informed decisions, such as evacuating before floodwaters reach dangerous levels. The system's multilingual support, offering alerts in 14 languages, including American Sign Language, ensures that critical information is accessible to the diverse communities that make up our city. This city service serves as a lifeline for basement dwellers, giving them the crucial seconds or minutes needed to protect themselves and their property in the face of an emergency. Since 2021, emergency management has also enhanced its public warning capabilities via Notify NYC, including the creation of new message types encouraging rain preparedness, even if National Weather Service products have not yet been issued, such as a notification asking New Yorkers to help clear catch basins. In addition to these new messages, we have increased our focus on basement apartment notifications and risk, including the development of a new Notify NYC subscription group that offers targeted messaging regarding flooding in basement apartments. New Yorkers interested in this information can enroll in this group, and unlike other groups, will receive phone calls all times of day, including during overnight hours, to alert them of the risk for basement flooding. All of the enhancements to Notify NYC, including the new basement notifications, are offered in multiple languages. As always, we would appreciate any support from the council in getting the word out about these new capabilities and encouraging enrollment in Notify NYC, especially for our new basement alerts group, as increased enrollment will assist us in reaching even more vulnerable New Yorkers. We've also added flood alarms as a response tool, similar to smoke alarms, and backed by our FEMA-led post-Ida mitigation study. We have distributed alarms to New Yorkers, which they can place in their basements to alert them when flooding is occurring in their residence so they know when to evacuate. Finally, a pivotal moment in the City of New York's commitment to proactive preparedness and fostering resilient communities was our recent Rising Above Citywide Flood Preparedness Day of Action and Resource Fair. Organized by Emergency Management, this event took place at Diversity Plaza in the heart of Queens and was focused on providing the tools and information needed to combat flooding across the 5 boroughs with a focus on basement apartments. Our CERT volunteers played an invaluable role, spanning communities from Throgs Neck in the Bronx to South Street Seaport in Manhattan to canvass flood-vulnerable neighborhoods. These dedicated individuals were not just distributing information, flood alarms, and barriers, but were demonstrating their use, visiting local businesses, and engaging in meaningful dialogues about flood preparedness, exemplifying what Commissioner Iskell refers to as a culture of resilience. This event was more than symbolic. It provided actionable steps for immediate implementation, therefore reflecting the urgency of the situation. Collaboration was a central theme of the event. Various offices and agencies, including the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice and the New York City Public Engagement Unit, came together to advance our shared mission. Council members, borough president, and the New York City Chief Climate Officer emphasized the acute need for flood preparedness and climate resilience, especially as we've seen the toll taken by events like Ida and Hurricane Sandy. Returning to the emergency of September 29th, though it may appear to the public and the media that a press conference is our first step, it's part of a larger ongoing effort of sustained preparation well in advance of a weather event. This includes identifying the key partners for operational coordination, holding interagency calls to provide situational awareness, monitor and tracking impact to critical services and infrastructure, identifying key decisions and resources needed to reduce impacts from the event, and tracking key actions to support the response by agency partners. For the flash flood event in September, we pulled response operations and capabilities from a wide range of pre-existing plans based on the needs of the emergency at hand. We began monitoring the potential storm the previous Friday, September 22nd, and began consultations with the National Weather Service on Wednesday afternoon at first indication of a flood risk. Although the plan trigger had not yet been met, we activated the flash flood plan at 8:30 a.m. Thursday morning out of an abundance of caution, and the Emergency Operations Center was opened on Friday, September 29th at 6 a.m. with involvement from key city agencies and partners, including the Community Affairs Unit, Con Ed, Environmental Protection, New York City Public Schools, State Homeland Security and Emergency Services, DOT, Sanitation, Fire Department, MTA, National Weather Service, Police Department, Port Authority, Parks, American Red Cross, and PSE&G. Our approach to communication leverages a number of platforms activated by both emergency management and our network of partners to relay crucial information promptly and efficiently. These platforms range from Notify NYC to social media outlets like Twitter and Instagram, and additional systems like the Advanced Warning System, which disseminates information to people with disabilities and other access and functional needs. In urgent situations, a unified command structure is activated, comprised of lead agencies and City Hall. This structure enables us to amplify and coordinate messaging across a wide array of agency partners, including those in the private and nonprofit sectors, ensuring a comprehensive and effective public response. The first Notify NYC message about this event went out at 3:05 a.m. on Wednesday, and through the duration of this emergency, we issued 71 Notify messages, made 64 social media posts, held 2 press conferences with Mayor Adams, and responded to dozens of press inquiries. The largest operation from the flooding was the full evacuation of Woodhull Hospital in Brooklyn. This required the phased transfer of 116 patients to other health and hospital sites, which started Friday night and was completed by Saturday evening. This was necessary for patient and staff safety because the hospital needed to be taken off its backup generators so that Con Ed could assess damage to the feeder lines and make necessary repairs in addition to assessing damage to their electrical and mechanical equipment. The hospital was able to fully reopen on October 7th. The coordination and collaboration throughout that weekend speaks to the capabilities we have in this city. Not since Sandy had there been a full hospital evacuation, let alone in short notice such as this experience, and we are thankful for the safe transfer of every patient through the process. In the aftermath of the event, we transitioned into the recovery phase, rigorously working to ensure services were restored where needed and evaluated the full scope of the damage to infrastructure and buildings. We coordinated with our partners to execute operations like damage assessment and community outreach while tracking restorations. The report damage tool was newly launched this hurricane season, along with a revamped 311 severe damage tool, which links callers directly to service requests when reporting damage from the event. These tools collected information such as building damages that could be used to request state and federal recovery aid or 311 service requests related to a storm, such as sewer backups, structural damage to buildings, and hot water complaints. Both tools were activated the evening of Thursday, September 28th, in anticipation of the incoming weather. It was amplified through all our social media channels, strengthening community networks, elected officials, community boards, and further amplified by City Hall and agency partners. A citywide Notify NYC message was also used to amplify the 311 severe damage tool, encouraging people to submit reports. The numbers received from this tool, along with reports to the Emergency Operations Center, were ultimately fairly low and did not trigger recovery operations such as our damage assessment working group, muck-out, or debris cleanup. In addition, the city did not stand up hotels or shelters, nor did we set up service centers. The impacts were also not as severe as past events in New York City that met the threshold to request FEMA individual assistance for residents. Reports were received in the hundreds compared to thousands during Tropical Storm Ida. However, the numbers were high enough to request that the New York Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services for a Small Business Administration declaration that would provide low-interest loans to renters, homeowners, and business owners for recovery, repair, or other losses. DISHES and the Small Business Administration sent representatives to tour damages across Brooklyn and Queens to see if the boroughs met the threshold for a declaration. For 3 days, emergency management escorted its state and federal partners, along with community organizations and business improvement districts, to assess the impact. Queens did not meet the threshold, but Brooklyn did. We are still waiting for a final decision for that declaration. As we have seen with other aspects of severe weather, climate change and its impacts continue to pose new challenges to New York City, and city agencies are working to adjust our plans and outreach to New Yorkers to address this hazard. As we did for this incident, we continue to pursue giving New Yorkers the most up-to-date information on the potential dangers from flash flooding so they can make any adjustments to their activities as needed. We are already in the process of reviewing our flash flood emergency plan and making modifications and improvements based on lessons learned from this event. For example, school closures and leave policy for city employees are 2 key decisions we are working to incorporate using experience from other emergency plans where we can leverage language and impacts. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. We're now happy to take your questions.
I'd just like to note that Council members Ressler, Riley, and Williams have joined us. I'll now ask Councilmember Ressler to speak on his bills.
I just firstly want to earnestly thank Chair Ariola for the opportunity to hear these bills today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you for holding this critically important hearing. And thanks to Chair Brewer, and of course, thanks to the Speaker's Office for their leadership on this effort. On both June 6th and September 29th, New Yorkers encountered emergencies that we were entirely unprepared for, facing significant health and safety risks. On both days, despite there being notable warnings about the weather, the city did little more than send out generic alerts and tweets. There was a complete lack of comprehensive information and no coordinated city response to protect and help New Yorkers. This cannot keep happening. Our 3 bills address the dystopian wildfire smoke that we experienced in June, incidents that are new due to our climate reality, new to New Yorkers, but unfortunately all too familiar to folks on the West Coast and other parts of the country and the world who have experienced dystopian wildfire smoke. On that day, New Yorkers didn't know how to stay safe. They didn't know where to turn for information. Some of our most vulnerable New Yorkers were left outside on the street because there was no care, there was no direction provided to them on where to go. There was confusing and conflicting advice. This has to change. Our bills, these 3 bills, will ensure that 1, we have a protocol in place before poor air quality events happen. 2, that we properly notify the public when they do happen. And 3, that we do everything we can to reduce pollution and protect those that are most in need during these events, including opening up clean air centers and providing access to shelter. Intro 1200, with 21 co-sponsors, and thank you to each of you, requires the Commissioner of Emergency Management to develop and implement a plan regarding public notification during air quality emergencies, including notifying the public about how to stay safe and access health information. Intro 1201, with 19 co-sponsors, requires that NYSEM develop an emergency response protocol for unhealthy air quality events, as they are required to do for other weather events under Local Law 24. And Intro 1199, which also has 19 co-sponsors, would create Spare the Air days, days for when there is poor air quality that would allow the city to prohibit high emissions activities, encourage people to reduce their own emissions, provide access to clean air centers, and ensure that street homeless New Yorkers can access shelter anywhere. similar to Code Red or Code Blue scenarios. I have a great deal of respect for Deputy Commissioner Farrell and the other folks in city government who have been working for years to try to keep us safe during emergencies. But our experiences on June 6th and September 29th were totally unacceptable, and we have to do better. And our package of bills would make a critical difference to ensure that New Yorkers are safe when future air quality events occur. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Ressler. Okay. So just before we start, and thank you for your comprehensive testimony, but when we do have these climate emergencies, does OEM keep a record of all city residents previously impacted by that weather or emergency?
So I wouldn't say that we have a list of every city resident. We do, like I said, we learn from every storm, and we work with our partners, certainly DEP and others, to look at areas. And as we've seen, first with Ida and now with this, we've spent a lot of time focused on coastal storms, since that is a very large risk. I think you know that in your district. But Ida was really a wake-up call that climate change and other things are impacting different types of flooding. So we look at all different areas, but we really, for flooding, if we're talking about flash flooding, we really consider the entire city at risk. And so we do messaging comprehensively to different groups and look at things, and I think Kim may have more on DEP's efforts.
Sure. So inland flooding is definitely one of the things that is an emerging challenge for the city, especially with the more intense storms that we're seeing. And in 2022, we released stormwater maps that are on our website that help New Yorkers understand their risk from these more intense storms. And so we really encourage folks to go to nyc.gov/rainfallready. That's where you can interact with these maps so that you can understand your risk during a moderate and an extreme storm. And really get a block-by-block analysis and understanding of where water tends to pool and collect in these intense inland storms.
Yeah, because I think that the times are changing. So we used to know that the Rockaway Peninsula would flood, or parts of Howard Beach, Hamilton Beach. I'm just speaking to my district, but now it's all these inland areas that are getting flooded. So that's an issue. And just to note that NYSEM did have. For that storm for the 29th, on the 28th, you did have notification go out in a press release, and then you had notify NYC, and I know our office was contacted. So you do work with your community partners, you do work with your government agency partners, and you do try and get the word out as quickly as possible, or as quickly as we know. But they don't call them flash storms for nothing, right? So this is for NYSEM, can you describe the relevant emergency protocols for flooding events caused by extreme weather, such as the city's coastal storm plan and flood emergency plan?
Sure. So happily, we are at the end of coastal storm season for this year. The Atlantic coastal storm season is about 6 months. And so, that one by far is our largest plan. We are looking at storms throughout the whole season. We start to track them. And when a storm looks like it may have effects off the coast of North Carolina, that is when we start to do calls and look at what we would have to do. For flash flooding, as you've noted, it is a very different instance. Like I said in my testimony, for this storm, even though we knew it was coming, there was no indication that there would be any type of flooding or excessive rainfall until that Wednesday morning, and even until like Thursday afternoon. We had a lot of rain this year. If people remember, I think it rained like 7-8 weekends in a row. And so, we were activating the flash flood plan basically every weekend. And Thursday afternoon and getting into the evening is when the predictions of, very, very large amounts of rainfall started to come. The first thing we do, as we said, is, we have our meteorologist who is always looking at everything, talking to the Weather Service. We start internal consults, and then we reach out to all our partners because they are the subject matter experts of their areas. They, as people probably know, New York City is 250 employees. in a city of 300,000 employees. And so, we lead the coordination, but obviously DEP, transportation, parks, fire, police, they have many thousands of employees, and they know the actions that they take when we activate the flash flood plan. Things like clearing out the catch basins. I'm sure the chief can talk about, the staffing that they put in place and the training that his officers have been through. So they are related, the two, but, coastal storms, we have much more notice. If we are doing a coastal storm evacuation, if people remember back to Sandy, that encompasses bringing in the emergency stockpile, closing schools, outfitting schools as emergency shelters, potentially evacuating hospitals. It is a huge, huge undertaking. Flash floods are a very different animal.
And it's your agency that coordinates with all the other agencies, so they're giving you regular updates during the course of the day.
They are. So we send out all of our consults. A lot of times people may know that there's weather coming in tomorrow night. And so starting, just for example, this past Friday, we started consults on Saturday, but this past Friday morning, we sent our updated weather report looking at all the risks because we know how it may impact with holiday travel. We know how it may impact with the Thanksgiving Day parade. So we're in constant contact with the agencies, giving them information, answering any questions. And then, for example, this weather coming in tomorrow, we started consults with the agency this past Saturday. So we did them yesterday and Saturday. We're doing another one today. And then, we will set up larger calls when need be. But it's an ongoing, because we're also not just talking to them about weather. Obviously, there are many other emergencies going on across the city. So, we have tried and true liaisons. We have secondary, tertiary liaisons. And so we are talking to them through our watch command, through our on-call team, through our executive leadership, pretty much all day and all night long.
And how does that overlap differ based on a flash flooding or caused by heavy rainfall or a large climate event or a fire?
So we will set up the calls, and the call, it's usually the same agencies. The operational agencies in the city are the operational agencies. We will add on additional agencies. As Councilman Ressler noted, after the air quality days in June, DCAS is not always on our calls historically. They would be on coastal storm calls, but they wouldn't, for example, always be on severe heat because the impacts within DCAS have not been that great. Since we are looking at city worker health and safety, we have added DCAS to all our calls. So, we have liaisons in every single city agency, in all the private sector partners, the states and the feds. So we will add agencies as we see a need. And, we're doing the calls all the time. We're happy to have all the partners there with us. And so then we just take it. And usually we will do 1 or 2 calls a day. But if it seems like, we need to do more, if something like a fire, that is more field operations, that's something more that we would do interagency meetings, which would be led by our citywide incident coordinators, and we would have fire commanders, police, other agencies there to deal with the impacts of fires and other types of water main breaks, those type of things. That happens more on the ground.
Good morning. So,
Good morning.
Specific to the September 29th rain event, the NISM in the days before had their planning meetings where they give us the forecast. They give us all the information they have on it, and then we look at that and size up what the risk is. So for the September 29th event, there was no prediction for coastal flooding. It was not predicted to be a wind event. Our risk indicated urban flooding. A lot of rain. I think the last forecast I saw was up to 5 inches of rain. So that was the additional equipment, additional resources that we staffed for, was to deal with the urban flooding. If it was predicted to be a coastal storm or heavy winds, maybe knocking down trees, we would add resources to deal with the down trees or the coastal flooding. So NISM gives us all that information, and then we increase the staffing based on that specific risk or threat.
Thank you, Chief. And what conditions warrant an emergency weather declaration? And when that is declared, what actions are contemplated when that weather emergency is declared?
So an emergency declaration, there are several reasons why we do that. As we know, we had already activated the flash flood plan. We had sent out many notifies and done other actions. A lot of times for an emergency declaration, first of all, it is for people to understand how serious an event is. New Yorkers are intrepid. Much like the council member mentioned, they want to get where they're going. Like I said, it was raining every week, so people aren't necessarily going to stay home for rain the way they might for a blizzard, or another severe weather event. So part of it is to show, that this is a very serious situation, and, people need to take it seriously to stay safe. It also can help if there are, any emergency type of purchasing or anything that has to happen. And then also when we are, like I said, for this storm, we spoke to the state, we spoke to the feds. It was nowhere close meeting the FEMA declarations, but we don't want to make that decision. We want that to come through their process, and having a state of emergency can help us in that process.
I know there was a lot of back and forth about the schools on that day, and we have a lot of schools on the peninsula that that had to be, children had to be picked up at some point during the course of the day. Was there any contact during that, contacting of other agencies with the DOE, and was there a reason why they didn't decide to even have a delayed arrival?
I'll talk to the contact part, and then I'll ask John Shea to talk about their operations. So Department of Education or New York City Public Schools, that's another agency that literally we're in touch with every day, due to the large number of students and employees. We were speaking to the Department of Education on Thursday, alerting them to the fact that there was going to be rain. And a lot of rain, and then they, as I mentioned, they were in our Emergency Operations Center on Friday. I was talking with their emergency managers as there was some, they did get some water in school basements and some areas, asking if they needed resources or anything. The Department of Education is very well resourced. They didn't need anything from us, but we stayed in touch also as they looked at their damage. Happily, I believe there wasn't any infrastructure damage, very different than how Ida was, but we do stay in touch with them every step of the way. But I'll defer the rest to John.
Sure. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner, and thank you for the question, Chair Ariola. So, as the Deputy Commissioner mentioned, DOE does participate in all of the NISM calls when we have these citywide events, and we participated in the calls for the ones for this particular storm, and at the time there was nothing that we saw that was any reason to either cancel school or move to remote. And I want to remind the council that moving to remote or canceling school is not a decision that we take lightly. The services that students get, not just education, but hot meals and a safe place to be, is very important to us as well. It's a disruption to families when we make those decisions. So we do everything we can in our power to make sure that we keep schools open as often as possible. But we certainly don't want to put students or staff in a difficult situation, but we didn't think that the storm in this case warranted that decision.
So hindsight being 2020, and that the storm was much worse than we had anticipated, would you critically think that out a little differently when another storm is approaching?
Sure. So I think your comments about the communication piece are absolutely on point, and we are using that as an opportunity, and the Chancellor is committed to an after-action report to review this, and we've already committed to share that with the Council. But in retrospect, I don't believe that we would have made a different decision with regards to remote. All of our schools did remain safe. There were a number of instances where if there was water in the basement or on the first floor, we had to move students up to a higher floor temporarily until that water receded and that we were able to clean it up with our custodial staff. But there was only one school, which was K-12, I believe in District 22, that we needed to evacuate to a different site because there was water and it was a transformer in the boiler room that got wet. And we did relocate those students, but that was the only school where we felt that we needed to move students for a safety issue.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I yield now to Councilmember Brewer.
Thank you very much. One of my questions is why the press conference was late, because I understand that you had to, 6 o'clock in the morning, you're there, and at that point, of course, you're putting the pieces together, because I've been to the OEM Center, and I know how impressive it is with the incredible technology that goes with it. But according to a memo that I have here, there was a lot of activity by you positively before the 12 noon press conference. I just was wanting to understand why it was late, at least from what it seems to me. Because it looks to me like you were doing lots of, I happen to have a memo here, which I have, that lists all the different things you were doing before the noon press conference. So can you explain that to me?
So we did not do an independent press conference. That came through City Hall. What we did do, Commissioner Iscol, myself, and other staff members we have that speak languages other than English, we were doing lots of individual media, to get to New Yorkers right where they are. So things like 1010 Wins, New York One, Noticias, all different individual things like that, and speaking about the conditions at that moment. As I also mentioned, we did do a press release that evening. I know that we sent it to the council, and I got it through your listserv, so I know that many council members also shared that. But your point is well taken. We can, in events like this, communication is key. And so we are looking, and I think people probably saw that the next week when we did face rain, not the same amount, but there was an early press conference in our headquarters.
Very early. Yes, we were.
It was Friday at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm just saying it was like over, with all due respect, and that was fine. It felt like it was overdrive because of the previous time frame. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, despite all the work that you did individually, the press goes where the mayor is, and that would have made more sense. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm just saying that's what I would have suggested. I do want to go back to the schools, though, because it's my understanding, because of and this is MTA more than anything else, that you could get to school, but it was very hard to get back. 3 hours, 4 hours, are the stories I heard. So how will that influence in the future your thought to, I don't think schools should be closed except for the most drastic situations, but if you don't have the pieces to get the transportation, no matter how great it is as a learning institution, you can't do it. So how are you going to think about that for the future? That seemed to be, to me, that was the biggest problem, getting home from whatever you were at, because nobody knew in the morning that it was going to be a big problem.
Sure, and it's a great question. Thank you, Chair Brewer. And as I mentioned earlier, I think it's always, and as the Deputy Commissioner has testified, every storm is a little different when it comes to a rain event like this, so the impact is different depending on where you are in the city. The Office of People Transportation is part of the communications when we have the calls with NYSEM and our own internal communications, so they are aware of the up-to-date information as it comes through, and just like anything else, make decisions on the transportation based on the information that we have at the time. So I think as part of our review of this, we will definitely look at what the transportation was on the pickup side and see if there were things that we can learn from that and do better, sure.
Okay. Now, I did mention Notify NYC, and I understand it. I have to say, I think it's around 1 million people, I remember for a previous hearing, who are signed up for it. So my question is, do you think it's an adequate tool? Do you think there's possibilities for growth? Do you think that we can get more people signed up? Do you think it's a realistic method of communicating? And I know that we don't have much else right now, but I have to say, from my perspective, as somebody who's a user, somebody in Nyack getting missing, that's what I see a lot of, and so I do tend to tune it out. So for something like this, I would have preferred some kind of an alert that was much more significant than what we got. Go ahead.
So to address your first point, the reason that we send so many missing persons alerts is because back in a city council during the Bloomberg years, the city council passed legislation mandating us to send every missing person in the city to every Notify NYC subscriber. We agree that if someone's missing in the South Shore of Staten Island, people in Riverdale might or might not need that information.
I pay no attention whatsoever, I'll be honest
So
with you.
we're very, I don't know if it's Chairperson Ariola's committee or a different one, but we would be very happy to work to amend that legislation because we are bound by the legislation that was put in place several years ago to send so many missing persons alerts citywide. The technology has evolved since then, so that's something that we can definitely follow up on because that is something, legislation that we're following, but if it's not effective anymore, we're happy to change that because it's honestly a lot of work for our team as well.
Okay,
Talking.
but go ahead, I want to hear more about, even without
Yep.
having as many, there still needs to be a better response. Go ahead.
So speaking about Notify NYC, we have just shy of 1.2 million subscribers. As I mentioned, it's available in 14 languages, including sign language. I would say that the vast majority of subscribers do subscribe in English. So one of our main goals is to increase the subscribership across the board, but also specifically in languages other than English. We check the subscriber numbers every week, and we do a lot of different things to get those numbers up. As people may know, we have a long-standing relationship with the Ad Council. For the first time ever, our Ad Council campaign this year focuses on Notify. The ads are just coming out now, and they're in English and Spanish. We're happy to share them. And the Ad Council, we are a small agency with a relatively small budget. Our advertising budget is not as large as some other agencies, but having the Ad Council allows us to have, a much broader reach with those ads. They go on TV, they go on radio, all across. So that is one thing. Something else that we always see is after an event, we see a large uptick. And so we work with City Hall, we work with other agencies to mention it. We call them teachable moments when people are focused. That's another great place where the council, if willing, could work with us. We do subscriber drives, so we go out to all different kinds of events throughout the year and encourage people to sign up. But, and as I mentioned earlier, we still do phone calls. So people can get on their landline, especially for the citywide alerts for things that are life sensitive, time sensitive, because in the middle of the night, a text or an email is not necessarily going to wake you up.
Okay.
We agree that we want to do other ways to get the word out. We are looking, we'd like to look at WhatsApp channels, especially for people that don't speak English, as Twitter or X or other social media may not be what they use. So we are open. Our job is to alert every New Yorker, every time that there is something serious going on. So Notify is a great tool. I would just say with the 1.2 million subscribers, hopefully many of you are subscribers, the press are subscribers, nonprofits. So, we see that information amplified across the board. So the 1.2 million, can become 2 and 3 million messages. But we are also open to other ways that we can get the message out. The Department of Transportation will do variable message boards. The Link NYC kiosk will put the message up. There are many, many different ways to get the message out, and we're always looking for new channels.
I think that's a discussion to be had. Certainly, I think WhatsApp is a good idea, that's for sure. The analysis post was done, I think, by the first deputy mayor. That's my understanding. And I just was wondering, did somebody assess the damage to private property that resulted from the flooding on September 29th? And what other kinds of, you mentioned them, some of it in your testimony, but what other kinds of assessment you, fire department, and others did in order to not have this happen in the future? Can you be specific?
So for private buildings, as I mentioned, we do have the damage assessment tool. The Housing Recovery Office, HRO, retool. We've had a damage assessment tool for a while, but the Housing Recovery Office did a really great job this year, making it much more robust and much more user-friendly. We pushed that out through many different channels, through the media, through electeds, through Notify, other agencies, to encourage everyone who had any type of damage to call 311 and report, and then HRO followed up on all of those reports. As you can imagine, there were some duplicates. Also, people will report water in their basement, they clean up the water, and so that is not an actionable report. But we did go in the weeks after around to different locations that were reported to see what type of damage there was. I think, based on the timing of this storm, Ida mostly happened overnight. This storm happened later in the day, so it was very disruptive to people's commutes. But it was also not a time where people were asleep or not aware. At the public schools, all their custodians were already in place. It didn't happen in the summer the way that Ida did, so they were able to get on it quickly and fix whatever repairs had to be done. But we really didn't see the infrastructure damage that we saw during Hurricane Ida. We also did, emergency management in cooperation with OMB, talk to all city agencies to see. After Ida, I walked through many firehouses, many schools, many other city buildings that had very serious damage. There wasn't that level of damage with this storm.
In terms of the schools, it says here 560 schools were impacted. So I'm wondering, obviously it is true that the school custodians were there. That's a good thing. But still, to be all honest, these wonderful principals and custodians don't always get the support to do the follow-up when there's damage. Nice to have somebody there. So my question is, what has been your after September 29th report? What are we doing about the schools who were impacted? And again, are you part of whatever import is decided upon for thinking about what to do about the future? Because the schools are really important.
Sure. Thank you for that. So you are correct. 560 buildings did report some sort of water ingress, but that did not mean damage. We had 403 buildings that needed some extra level of support, and most of that was probably additional custodial labor to help with cleaning up the water. But some of that is going to be for outside contractors or somebody to come in and help with a repair that the custodial staff couldn't manage themselves. But over the grand scope of our portfolio, that was really not a large dollar volume of repairs that were required or cleanup that was required. And to answer your question, yes, we are definitely, we are working on the after-action report. It is not complete yet, but when it is, again, we committed to share that with the council, and we are a part of the city's planning going forward.
Okay. And the same thing back to, I guess, emergency management with the city buildings, DCAS, and so on. Are they also trying to figure out whatever happened and so it doesn't happen in the future? I know the courthouses are also, they have leaks no matter what, whether it's raining or not, it seems to be, in terms of the Bronx courthouse in particular. So I always like to think that maybe this is an opportunity to do what's not normally done. So my question is, those buildings that are public that were damaged, you have a list of them, you're figuring out what to do about them, what's the status? How do you go about making sure it doesn't happen again? And not you, but DCAS has to put the Bronx courthouse on their list.
We'll follow up on the Bronx courthouse. For the agencies, they know their buildings best, obviously, and what capital repairs and what other repairs they have going on. We did do coordination looking to see if this would, because there's individual assistance with FEMA, which goes to homeowners, and then there's public assistance, which goes to city agencies. We did look, there was damage, I think, at the Prospect Park Zoo, definitely to Woodhull Hospital, small damage at schools. Again, we didn't rise to the level of a FEMA declaration, but across the board, city agencies are committed to repairing their buildings and learning about. We also do a lot of, there's a lot of resiliency money that is coming out of FEMA. There's building resilient infrastructure. The BRIC program, which Emergency Management, our resiliency arm, works with city agencies on technical assistance for these grants. And a lot of this is hardening different facilities, looking at, as we build new facilities, building them stronger. So obviously, those are longer term goals, but important ones to safeguard the city and our property.
Okay, I just have $1 question. I think in your testimony, you mentioned that you're going to be hiring another consultant to think about weather in the future. We have a budget crisis. Do you really need this other consultant?
I think, by evidence that we're sitting here today, we do want as many tools as we have. I think also people can appreciate that while our meteorologist is terrific, he also needs to sleep and go on vacation once in a while. So we don't want to, be caught flat-footed. We are also working with the National Weather Service. One thing I should mention that for this storm and for others, we actually had a National Weather Service forecaster embedded with us in person on that Friday, which was terrific for our meteorologist because there was a lot going on, and obviously 2 sets of eyes are better than 1. So we are talking to the Weather Service about how we can do that more regularly. But we also are, good custodians of our resources, and so we're looking at how to do it in a fiscally responsible way.
Okay, that's a nice answer. My answer will be we have a budget crisis, and I'm going to look at every single contract that the city is considering and say no, because we have to focus on people who need food stamps and public assistance and food and schools. So I just let you know, before you go signing that contract, think about some other things. Thank you very much. I know Councilmember Joseph is here, and she does have questions.
Okay, but we have a list. So we're going to start with Councilmember Holden, followed by Councilmember Hanif.
Thank you, chairs, and thank you, Deputy Commissioner, for your testimony and the panel. I have a few questions. I'll ask them all at once, so because my time is limited. You mentioned that OEM is able to engage New Yorkers via Notify NYC, but that requires people to sign up for the platform. I mean, does OEM have a tool or service that does proactive outreach, for instance? Not a day goes by I don't get a cold call, a robocall that says they want to buy my house. Why can't we pinpoint neighborhoods and do a robocall warning people, batten down the hatches. Let's be proactive here. If you live in a basement apartment, get out, or at least monitor it. And I'll ask my second part now. Are you aware of the city of Yes, right? That kind of, some people in Queens are really upset at this whole idea of let's put more dwelling units, let's make garages into homes, let's make basement apartments into apartments, like living, more people in the basement. Most people know who live in Queens that we're experiencing serious flooding now. Normal storms, not hurricanes, normal thunderstorms, we get flooded. Now, the infrastructure, we're way behind. We're gonna go into probably the next 75 years of trying to upgrade the sewer system, especially in my district. I think my district experienced the most deaths in Hurricane Ida. Now we're being told, on one hand, let's increase the density, let's pave over our lawns, let's put more dwelling units, let's do more people in a confined space, let's put people in basements, and then we're going to worry about what happens. We're going to notify them to get out of the basement. I mean, I have I have the most blackouts, I think, of any district, the 30th district, because our electric grid is so bad. Yet they're saying everybody's got to switch over to electric. I mean, this whole plan is ridiculous. First of all, City of Yes. It's almost dumb to do this before we fix the infrastructure. I mean, does anybody, certainly an OEM, understand that this could be a disaster waiting to happen if we're going to implement City of Yes as it's thrown out now?
Thank you for those questions. So for your first question, and people have probably experienced this, we do have, at Emergency Management, we can send out wireless emergency alerts, known as WEAs. That is when your phone, you didn't sign up for those. If your phone's enabled, which most phones are, it will buzz and light up at the same time and give you a life safety warning. For this storm, the Weather Service, who is another partner that can send those alerts, they did send 2 WEAs across the city on Friday morning because we were in a flash flood emergency. We did not send any wireless emergency alerts connected to that storm because we did not see that we were in an area of life safety the way we were. We did send wireless emergency alerts during Hurricane Ida. We don't have the ability to do wide-scale robocalls. The last time we had checked into it, there were some, privacy and spamming and other concerns. But we do, one thing that we have been putting in place since COVID, and we did activate them during this storm, is our strengthening communities. So Emergency Management has identified 37 umbrella groups across the city in all different boroughs. We've trained them, and we're able to give them grants when they do activate to help us. So for this storm, we did activate all our strengthening community networks, and those are nonprofits and other groups that once we activate them, they, as you're mentioning, they do make phone calls, they will go door to door, they know their communities, way better than we do block by block, and they will, share the messages, let them know about recovery. But we, as I mentioned before, we're always looking for more ways to speak to people and to get them the information they need. As of the City of Yes, that's not something that Emergency Management is directly involved in, but as plans change, I'm sure that Fire and DEP, because it affects their fire rescue and it affects their infrastructure, but for us, as we look at plans and we bring all our partners together, we do look at, do we need to update the hurricane evacuation zones? Do we need to coordinate with agencies for more resources?
Well, if you're saying your agency is not involved in the City of Yes, that seems to be kind of like we're not preparing properly, because you're going to deal on the back end, which we will have more people. If this goes through, even a portion of it goes through, we're going to have more people in ADUs. We're going to have more people in basements, in cellars, more people packed in, more flooding, more concrete. So this is going to actually make it worse, especially in neighborhoods of Queens. I like to know, and again, it's caused by overdevelopment. It really is. So we want to further develop in a tighter area and not take care of the electrical grid, not take care of the sewer system. You have to see how many people in my district, after a storm, I'm not talking about a hurricane, I'm talking about a thunderstorm, have sewer backup, because it's going to take decades to fix the sewer system. And then we want to add more ADUs, and we want to add more people to areas that don't have the infrastructure. So the fact that your agency is not involved in this kind of speaks to this whole City of Yes plan. That's how crazy it is to people who live in a flood area. And it's not only the coastal areas of Queens, it's almost every district in Queens. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Hanif has left, so we will move to Councilmember Schulman and then Joseph.
Hi, good morning. So I have a few questions. One is, I just want to return back a little bit to the robocalls. I know there are a lot of issues about spam, and there's been regulations and all of that. If there's any legislation that would assist you that we can push with Congress, because I know this is a congressional issue, can you let us know? Because I think that's really important, especially in terms of people protecting their lives. So that's one. The other is for FEMA monies, for all the flooding and everything else. Do you know how much we asked for, the city asked for in FEMA funds?
So for your first question, we will definitely look into that, and I appreciate that. One thing I would say, The FCC, which regulates the wireless emergency alerts, right now they're available in English and Spanish. They're only available in Spanish, in our opinion, because of really strong advocacy that emergency management agencies across the country did to really compel the cell phone carriers to give them out in Spanish. They have introduced comments, which we are in the process of drafting comments on, that they want to potentially do WIAs in many additional languages, which can become complicated with characters and different things. But, that was really, we were super excited a few weeks ago when we saw that that is ongoing because, we don't just want people to get information in English and Spanish. We want them to get it in Russian and Chinese and Korean and Urdu. So that is one thing that it'll take a while, but that is moving in the right direction. And then for your second question, we don't ask for specific amounts of money. We have to meet certain thresholds, citywide or statewide, and then also for specific boroughs because they do it by counties.
Okay.
And so we worked, with the state. The issue is it has to be uninsured. And, some places have insurance, and so we didn't meet the thresholds for this storm.
Is there anything that would help us meet the thresholds moving forward? I'm just curious.
I mean, we don't really want to meet the threshold because that means, we've spent a lot of money.
Yes, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, especially with the budget cuts that we're hearing about and everything else, that we're getting what is owed to us by the federal government, apart from other things.
Yeah, no, for sure. One thing I would say, and we can talk more about this, is, as I mentioned, the BRIC and the resiliency grants. There is a lot, because what is going to solve this, however long it takes, is, improved infrastructure, is building better, building smarter, giving DEP and others the tools to improve our infrastructure. And the real money in that comes obviously out of Washington. And so, the more advocacy, the city has been doing well. The Deputy Mayor for Operations has a federal task force, which we sit on. My partners here sit on, lots of agencies. But, we send a lot of money to Washington. We agree we could get more back. So we're really happy to talk to you about that.
And there was also an infrastructure bill I know that my Congresswoman and others, Grace Meng, was part of to make sure that New York City actually gets some of these funds, because very often what happens is it goes to the state and then we never see it. So to the extent that we can be helpful here as members of the council, going back just for 2 seconds to the robocalls, very often the phone carriers come to us as council members to ask us for help with things. So if there's a way that we can go back to them and say, hey, we need X, Y, and Z for emergency management, we're willing, I think, to do that. So we should have that conversation. And also, is there, and going back to what Chair Brewer was talking about in terms of all the different notifications about missing individuals and things that may not be relevant to us, I know there are some services, like there's a way to sign up for specific notifications. I don't know that the system is sophisticated enough to do that, but if there is a way to do that, that might be helpful. I mean, I know citywide there may be some emergency where we all get an alert, but otherwise we could sign up for different things, so maybe that's something to look at as well. And especially I know the city's looking at AI a little bit, maybe that's something that could help with that.
No, for sure. So the way Notify NYC works, everyone is signed up for the emergency alerts. So that is, people were receiving citywide emergency alerts on September 29th. But after that, you can customize it. You can get, thanks to work we did with Chairwoman Ariola last year, you can now get shark notification attacks. You can get beach closures, you can get public health emergencies, transportation, all kinds of things. I have to go back and look. It's my understanding, and when we set up this with the silver alerts and sending those out, that was like 2011, 2012. So the system was not as sophisticated as it is now. But I think the legislation that we follow reads that every silver alert has to go to all Notify NYC subscribers. It was very well-meaning. But I think, it might be time, or maybe we could change it to borough-wide or something that would be, would work better. Because, and this is a very nuanced point, but every time it's going to rain, we can't send 30 notifies because, as Chairperson Brewer has said, after the first couple, people will turn it off. They'll unsubscribe. People unsubscribe from the wireless emergency alerts. Unfortunately, you can go on your iPhone, swipe, and you're not getting the alerts anymore. So there is a fine line to try to figure out how to notify people and give them actionable information and not give them so much that they just turn us off. So if we can do that with the silver alerts, we would be happy to explore that.
No, I appreciate it, and I also just want to end by, my questioning by saying that you guys do a terrific job, but whatever we can do to be helpful to make that even better and enhance that, we'd love to, so thank you.
Councilmember Josephs.
Thank you, chairs. Good afternoon. My question is, how are you using technology and data in emergency planning to enhance flood response efforts?
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for that question. So we're doing a lot of looking at the data that comes in from multiple different avenues. And so one thing that you might be aware of is that we have launched the FloodNet program, which provides real-time sensors for flood levels on city streets. And so during the storm, we were sitting in our headquarters, actively monitoring that and seeing, okay, there's, FloodNet is showing us that we have, 27 inches of flooding in this location. We are using that to help us deploy crews on a priority basis. We're also using historical information about 301 complaints, as well as our new modeling data that we have from the stormwater maps to help us understand where there are chronic areas and making sure that we're deploying our resources to be resolving things that we can actually make a difference of. So if we know that the reason that a particular street is flooding is because it is also an extraordinarily high tide at the exact same moment as heavy rain, we know that sending a crew out there is not actually a good use of resources, because the only thing that you can do in that exact moment is wait for the tide to recede. However, if we see that there is major flooding on the FDR Drive at 95th Street, we know that that is not a tidally influenced location. And so we're using data to help us understand how to prioritize crew deployment so that we can ensure that we are responding to the places where we can have the most impact, and so that we can restore services to New Yorkers as soon as possible.
Thank you for that. Also, I wanted to talk about, did Prospect Park show up? I represent Prospect Park, and I also represent Kensington. They were underwater, and they've been underwater for a long time because of a few things that they were told, because I just had a town hall meeting with the constituents. The catchment basements, how often are they clean? How many do we have in the city, and who inspects them, and how often are they inspected?
Sure, I can answer all those questions. So there are over 150,000 catch basins across the city, and we inspect them on a programmatic cycle based on the type of historical information and inspection data we get. So this is a program we're so proud of, because what we do is we have looked at all catch basins, and each one of them has an individual inspection criteria and schedule. So for example, many catch basins are on a 6-month inspection cycle, which means that every 6 months we're going out there, we're checking to see if they are operating as designed and making sure they are not full of debris. So if you look in a catch basin, by the way, and you see like a little bit of like debris or water in it, that's totally fine. They're still working. But we know that catch basins that are in commercial districts often get filled with litter more quickly, and so that's why those are on a more frequent inspection cycle. Then we use data from our 20 years of catch basin cleaning that we have digitized to understand, okay, this catch basin on 87th Street in Woodhaven, we've been there we go there every 3 years, it's never full. We can put that on a 3-year cycle, that's an appropriate level. This one on Jamaica Avenue, this one needs to be checked X, Y, and Z because of these reasons. And so every single catch basin in New York City is on this programmatic cycle based on its historical record. We refresh that every 3 years to make sure that if there's changing conditions, we can also address that and make sure they're on the right schedule.
Is there a plan to upgrade, because they were saying that the amount of rain that's coming in that we've been receiving due to climate change, is there a plan to upgrade the amount of rain that they can capture?
Sure. So usually the catch basin itself is not the limiting factor to whether or not the water is sitting on the street. It's more often due to the capacity of the sewer system beneath. And that is a complicated equation based on a lot of different factors. And so we are at DEP programmatically evaluating the system and where we are seeing areas that are more susceptible to stormwater flooding, especially inland flooding from these more intense storms. And we're rolling out a range of solutions that can be implemented both in the short and long term to help address system capacity. So you might have seen rain gardens and other types of green infrastructure. We have over 12,000 of these assets throughout the city that are responsible for kind of absorbing water before it hits the sewer so that it's lessening pressure, so that we're creating these layers of resilience throughout the city so that when we get these intense storms, because the other thing to remember about cloudbursts is that they occur in very localized areas. And so you can't really build the sewer system to handle that amount of intense rainfall everywhere all the time, because we will have to raise many, many blocks in order to find room to put all of the sewers. And so instead, what we at the department are evaluating and implementing is a distributed approach where we're looking for many, many opportunities to retain and detain stormwater on public properties, at schools, parks, as well as in the roadway.
And could you tell me what's the long-term plan for Prospect Park in Kensington area that's constantly underwater? I know there's a plan for Prospect Park. They have a lake. The lake always overflows. Sometimes they have to drain it. And Prospect Park Zoo in my district, by the way, is currently closed due to the flooding. So we don't know when it's going to open for the families to enjoy. Just want to put that on the record. So please tell me the plan for Prospect Park, because we're underwater every time it rains. And it doesn't have to be a big storm.
So we are working closely with the Parks Department to evaluate what the options are there. It's a complicated system. And we, too, with the Parks Department, share the concern about the lake overtopping and flowing down, especially on the southern end of the park. And so it's something that we are actively discussing with the Parks Department and trying to figure out an engineering solution that will balance both the park's ecological needs, because you don't want to get rid of the lake. You know, that's one solution. It's not a great one, but also helps to protect flooding, protect the neighborhood from flooding. And so it's a balance that we are trying to engineer a solution that kind of meets the variety of needs. I wouldn't say we're there yet.
All right. Thank you, chairs.
Thank you, Councilmember Joseph. We've also been joined by Councilmember Krishnan and Councilmember Feliz via Zoom.
And Councilmember
Bottcher. Thank you. So I just want to address evacuation. So for the fire department, what role does the fire department serve as part of the city's response to flooding caused by extreme weather? And what is your responsibility regarding evacuation?
Good morning. Thank you for the question. So if it's an emergency evacuation that there's life in danger, that's an emergency response that the fire department would be involved with, and whether it's a few people or a building, the fire department's involved with. More of a planned evacuation, that's less of a fire department involvement. So Woodhill Hospital that was evacuated afterwards, we did have a minimal response there. We had helped transport 30 patients out of there to different hospitals. But that takes away from our emergency response in the field, and the planned response is not part of that. But life-threatening situations, the fire department would be with our other agency partners in charge and part of that command element.
So any type of emergency or an evacuation due to water would then impact your other services, such for FDNY and EMS?
That is correct.
Okay. So we've now, staying on the topic of evacuation, we have a lot of HERCs, we have a lot of shelters, and we have a lot of other places that may need to be evacuated in the event of a climate emergency. So adjacent to my district is a large HERC, which will house up to 2,000 people. So what is the current evacuation plan for Floyd Bennett Field?
So as with all, the structures, Randall's, Creedmoor, other things that have gone up that are managed by Health and Hospitals, emergency management has been working with Garner, the contractor, and others to make sure, that we have plans in place for the Floyd Bennett Field location. Since it is federal land, I believe we have filed 23 or 24 plans with the Park Service before they gave us the okay to house people there. And so we look at the wind thresholds, that's really the main concern. And it's not just the amount of wind, it's also the direction, and things like that. But so we are looking at them, working with the contractor, and then we also identify if it were a citywide evacuation, like we have done during Hurricane Irene and Sandy, schools would be available, and we would, we have identified a school that we would use for that. If it's something, as we're going out of coastal storm season now, it becomes less likely, but as we've all talked about, there are other reasons why we might have to evacuate. So we, have a list of many buildings across the city with partners, with city agencies, just like we have set up emergency shelters, after other large incidents. And so we work with our agency partners. There obviously would be busing, feeding, all the things that come along with moving a shelter like that. So we have in our command structure for the asylum seeker operation at emergency management, one of our key areas is cascading impacts. This is something we learned during COVID when we had COVID going on, and then we had severe heat, we had Hurricane Isaias, all of that. So we have been looking at all, we've been talking to HBD, we've been talking to H&H, and looking at our facilities to make sure, whatever the hazard is, that we have a solid plan in place.
And that would, it would also include places that were taking refugees from the Rockaway Peninsula, Mill Basin, and all the other areas in the surrounding communities that would be flooding as well. Would there be additional places, or it's still the same places that are identified? Because that's 2,000 more people.
Right. No, we would, because it is such a large structure, we have identified, there are 1,300 schools in the city, and most of them are not in a coastal storm evacuation zone, because really what you're talking about is a coastal storm evacuation. Mm-hmm. So we would do a discrete evacuation of Floyd Bennett Field to a specific location, and then a general population evacuation, they would be directed to other centers.
So we all know that we use the Marine Parkway Bridge and Flatbush Avenue as an evacuation route for the Rockaway Peninsula. So how would that affect residents of the Rockaway Peninsula with the timeliness of their evacuation?
We would have to work through that, since we would be evacuating, the residents of Floyd Bennett Field as a separate evacuation. We could plan it at a certain time, so it wouldn't, to try to lessen the impact. But a large coastal storm evacuation, whether we would evacuate up to 3 million people. So an extra 2,000 is a consideration and something we're working through, but it's going to be one operation of many, many, many that are happening across the city.
All right, thank you. And was there a DOB approval for the emergency evacuation plan, or was it not necessary because it was federal property?
We are working with the fire department, we're working with DOB, with all of our partners here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so just want to turn towards one of the hot topics was the fire hydrants, and they're not working. So I just want to ask DEP. So there are 81 federal fire hydrants on the property, 42 are in service. Is that something that the DEP regularly tests, or because it's federal properties, it doesn't come under your jurisdiction?
So the fire hydrants that are on Floyd Bennett Field are not the responsibility of DEP to operate and maintain. That being said, we did offer the National Park Service support, as were testing and making sure that the fire hydrants were available. So we supported, but they're not part of our inventory.
So what happened? Once you went on and you gave them support, did you flush out fire hydrants? Are there more than 42 now that work properly, or are they still unreliable?
I can't speak to the reliability of them. I do know that we helped repair a few.
Okay, all right, thank you. So Chief, were the fire hydrants identified for use for FDNY operation procedures at Floyd Bennett ever submerged in floodwaters, for example, during Hurricane Sandy?
I don't know the answer to that, the Park Service hydrants. We've done an evaluation of the hydrants out there, and the Park Service hydrants we have found unreliable, and we're not going to use. We're going to use the DEP hydrants that are up on Flatbush Avenue. We've have some procedures in place to stretch hose lines from there, but the DEP hydrants are on a large enough main to give us enough water once we get the supply line stretched.
And just for the record, I want to note that the DEP hydrant that the chief is referring to is 3,500 feet away from the base camp. Let's see. So regarding the FDNY's pre-planning, out of the assigned units designated for water supply, who would the balance of the assignment potentially be deployed to for evacuation?
Okay.
So maybe that's best answered by...
You're asking about fire companies?
So the FDNY did a pre-planning
Correct.
analysis. So according to that analysis, what of the assigned units designated for water supply would be used in the balance of an assignment potentially to be deployed for an evacuation if there were a fire?
So our fire companies, we've increased the response. Our normal response to a report of a fire would be 3 engines and 2 ladders. At Floyd Bennett Field, we've increased it. We would also have our satellite, one of our satellite units, and one of our hose wagons with the large diameter hose. They have their plan. The ladder companies would be in charge of, conducting an evacuation, having the people leave the structure that's on fire, just as we would for other other buildings. There are fire guards on scene, and their instructions are to immediately start an evacuation in the event that there's a fire.
And what is the level of staffing and equipment sufficient to operate an evacuation of 2,000 people? Fire department or NYSEM?
I'm not aware of that.
NYSEM? Do we know how many people we would need to evacuate an area of 2,000 people if there were a fire or a climate event?
It would depend on, a fire evacuation, as the chief has noted, is very different than a planned evacuation for a coastal storm or something. As part of our agreement with the state is helping us with the evacuation planning. And, any evacuation is a large undertaking. And so we would take resources from different agencies, work with the state to move the people, as effectively as we can.
But it certainly would need a lot of staff.
Yeah, depending on the type of, if it's just in time or if it's, something that's planned out. But, we have many different types of evacuation plans, and we've done different types of evacuations over the years. So right now there is a small number of people at Floyd Bennett Field, but if it continues to grow, we will, keep involved in it.
Right, because it has the capacity for 2,000 people, and with budget cuts coming and hiring freezes and no overtime, it could be a problem. That's just a statement, you don't need to answer. In the people who are going to Floyd Bennett Field, now I've been there when there's been up to a foot of flooding, and then more during Hurricane Sandy, and then we had to wait for the water to recede in order to use it as a staging area for supplies for people who lived in the adjacent communities. So have the migrants been provided with any type of flotation devices, like so that could assist them, in remaining upright while exiting Floyd Bennett Field if it floods in the way it can flood?
If we felt, and again, we were doing this more as an exercise this weekend, but with the weather and the winds coming in tomorrow night, we have been talking to the agencies and to our contractor about what an evacuation would look like. These are large structures, and we also have the experience of having Randalls and Creedmoor up for some time now. So the contractor, they wouldn't give individual items to individual people, but they do have many supplies on site, and they can add more things. I would also say that these type of evacuations would most likely happen, before the fact, or, not at the time you're suggesting. So I don't know that they would be necessary, but we do, like I said, we created many, many plans. We've talked to many, many partners, and so, we feel like we are prepared.
Okay. And Chief, the fire hydrants that are there, let's see, it was 81 and 42 that are operational. Do you have a map that shows where they are in the event that they are covered by water, by flooding? And that doesn't have to really be a climate event, because we get tidal flooding all the time. So do you know where they are so they could be accessed for use?
The DEP hydrants that we would use are the ones that are up on Flatbush Avenue, and we do have them on the pre-plan map. The National Park Service hydrants that are scattered throughout, they're on a smaller main, and we won't be using them. We'll use the DEP hydrants on Flatbush Avenue.
Right. And then conversely, let's take Randall's Island. What is that location when it comes to any type of fire or water evacuation? Like what? How many hydrants are there? How many hydrants are at Creedmoor? And if there was a large fire or climate emergency throughout the city, how could you staff each and every one of those locations to evacuate people? I think it's with the current staffing the way it is.
So generally throughout the city, the fire hydrants are spaced about 300 feet apart. And that's similar up on Randall's Island. So there are more fire hydrants, they're much closer together. And down in Floyd Bennett Field, once you get off Flatbush Avenue back into the National Park Service, they just don't have the number or the spacing of hydrants. And we have plans to compensate for that. Concerning an evacuation, if the fire department is asked, if it's a non-emergency evacuation, the fire department, is asked to contribute resources. We'll evaluate our ability to give resources at that time.
All right, because if we all remember during Hurricane Sandy, in Breezy Point, when people were being evacuated, there was also a major fire going on at the same time, and it was a very challenging evacuation. So, if that were to happen, say at Floyd Bennett Field, if there was a large fire, the fire was spreading, we had to evacuate people from Breezy Point, and we could never use Flatbush Avenue, and vice versa, for the people who live in Brooklyn. So, thank you for your answers. Any other questions?
Councilmember Krishnan.
Yes. So we have Riley and then Krishnan.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Just two quick questions. So New York City's current infrastructure consists of an extensive network of over 7,400 miles of sewer pipes that collect sanitary, sewage, and stormwater in 14 WRRFs, wastewater resource recovery facilities that receive the flow. We need to construct new high-level storm sewers, like Councilmember Holden stated, to keep stormwater out of the sewer system and reduce flooding. So my question is, understanding future investments can alleviate flooding through the city, how is the department working to leverage stormwater investment to help manage future flood risks from extreme rain and sea level rise?
Thank you for that question. I'm happy to talk about capital planning all day. So we are working right now on as announced in Plan YC, a stormwater adaptation plan. And basically, the goal of this plan is to help us make sure that our funding that is available for stormwater improvements, which is over $2 billion in our capital plan, is able to be allocated to the communities that experience the most chronic and deep flooding, especially as we are experiencing more intense rainfall. And so we are currently working through an evaluative process to identify these priority locations where we can identify where near-term measures need to be taken. And as I mentioned earlier, we're thinking about planning for stormwater in a holistic, multi-layered way. So it's not just more sewers. Although sewers are a great tool in the toolbox, they're not always the fastest thing you can install, especially if they are far away from the coastline. And so sewers are constructed kind of like a tree. At the outfall by the coast, it's the largest, and as you get farther and farther inland, the sewers get smaller and smaller. And so if you need to make a substantial upgrade far inland, it takes a lot of miles of sewer to upgrade. And so that's why we look to other tools in our toolbox to manage stormwater. I talked earlier about green infrastructure. That's one of a great tool that we have to help deal with localized conditions. We've also announced 4 cloudburst neighborhoods, which are areas where we can identify ways to pull stormwater out of the right-of-way and take it away from homes and businesses and store it either underground in underwater detention tanks or in large green infrastructure installations. We're also working on a number of green medians throughout the city. So in Hollis, we just started work on one by Van Buren High School, which allows us to take this very unsightly, Department of Transportation, unsightly concrete median and green it so that we can build both some blue infrastructure, which is just a way of saying that it has some constructed aspects, like an underground tank, as well as green infrastructure, so plants and trees, to help absorb stormwater and keep it where it is, as opposed to having to rely on the sewer system, because that's an area that's very far away from the coast. And so all of these different layers are things that we can implement to help increase the stormwater resiliency of the city. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Councilmember Carr was just here, but his district, we're doing a ton of blue belts, which are ways that we can use natural streams to help manage and detain stormwater as well. And so I would say that it is a constantly ongoing learning process, especially as we deal with these more intense cloudbursts, causing us to have to think a little bit more creatively about how to manage stormwater so that we can make sure that New Yorkers are able to go about their lives and not put into danger. But also understanding that long-term capital sewer investments are challenging and long. You know, no one builds a sewer in a day. And so we have to think about all of these different tools we can have, and also making sure that we're investing our resources where the most chronic and deep and contiguous flooding is. So.
Thank you. I'm not sure if the Northeast Bronx is in any of those plans, but if not, I would love to meet with you and discuss some of the challenges that we're seeing over there, especially for a lot of our homeowners during a lot of these storms. And I just have one more question. Along with air quality initiatives by other city agencies, DEP is responsible for updating and enforcing the Air Pollution Control Code, which has the goal to preserve, protect, and improve the air resources for New York City. So my question is, understanding when agencies work together, their resources and collective action can lead to more impactful results. Are there any air quality initiatives that were collaborations with other city agencies implemented this year? If not, are there any initiatives set to be implemented next year?
I can't speak specifically to this year, but I can talk a little bit about the partnership that we have that's very great with the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. Yeah, I got that one right. So with DOHMH, we work together to implement a number of air quality initiatives to improve air quality throughout New York City, and we can certainly follow up with more specifics.
Thank you. That'll be all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We've been joined by Councilmember Velasquez. We have questions from Councilmember Krishnan and then Ressler.
Good morning, and thank you so much, chairs. Appreciate today's hearing about this very important issue and how we better and prepare ourselves for the ongoing and no doubt recurring storms and situations we'll have, like the prior one that we had. My questions are really for DEP, and it was interesting to hear, you know, the steps you all are taking now to address all the various issues. I mean, it is just such a unfortunate and serious issue that one of the biggest reasons for flooding is because we have such outdated public infrastructure that results in all the flooding in our streets, and really addressing that issue. My question, though, are more specific about on the ground. One thing I saw on the day of the storm itself, and I followed up with the commissioner about this too, and this was after my staff had also followed up with DEP. There are now 3 instances in my district of localized flooding issues that we've raised with DEP, but haven't gotten satisfactory resolution yet. And my concern is, when we're talking up here about all the policy issues and how we address it, if we're not able to create a system within DEP that addresses the on-the-ground situations as they develop, then we're not going to be able to actually implement this stuff on the ground where it matters most in neighborhoods like mine that have been very affected by numerous instances of flooding, from Ida to back in September. And I bring that up to one instance was right now, there's a series of homeowners on 31st Avenue, on 77th Street. Again, we flagged all these addresses for DEP, where they experienced a serious amount of flooding with the last storm. Of course, much more during Ida, but in this instance as well. DEP's initial response was there were no 311 complaints filed. But I went there and I saw myself the level of damage. And I know from, in other contexts like in housing, oftentimes HPD will say, look, there's no record in 311, but that doesn't mean a violation of the housing code doesn't exist. And in fact, the photos are the best evidence of it. So similarly in this situation, I'm not sure what happened, whether it was a language access issue or otherwise, but despite there not being 311 complaints, we haven't been able to get DEP to come out to investigate something that I've seen myself. And to the commissioner's credit, I've been working with him now on a site visit for that location. But the second place is on Baxter Avenue and Broadway in Elmhurst. There's water pooling that we notified DEP of over a month ago at this point, and there's been no action taken. And now constituents are reaching out to us about it, and the colder weather still hasn't come yet, but if you go there now, there's a huge pool of water in the middle of a very busy intersection. The third thing is on 77th Street and 37th Avenue in Jackson Heights, there's some sort of metal grate or something that's under DEP's jurisdiction that's been broken, creating a major tripping hazard for constituents, especially seniors who have fallen a number of times crossing the street as a busy intersection. Again, we flagged this to DEP, no action whatsoever. And this morning I've actually mentioned to the commissioner we'll be raising these instances again with him and with you all. But I bring it up to say, one, I would really appreciate if these instances are taken a look at as soon as possible. I mean, these are also liability issues for DEP too that could be addressed immediately, and we flagged it. But two, it presents a larger point of, while all that's happening up here is great, when these things happen on the ground in real time, how do we create a system within DEP that doesn't require me going to the commissioner in these instances, but within the agency, there's actually a fast, meaningful way to respond? Because honestly, in situations of climate emergencies, a lot of the stuff will need to be happening in real time.
So first, I want to apologize for the delay in getting back to you. I have seen the email traffic on all of these, so I know they are being actively investigated, but we can certainly get you an update as to where we are. And I would say the other thing that we are doing in terms of our public communication tools is we're seeking to hire borough commissioners so that we have a more point person for every council member or borough president, so they can create the deeper relationship with a person at DEP, and they can ensure that you're getting timely responses to the issues that are raised. So we're really hopeful that that is going to be one of the tools that helps us to make sure that these types of complaints and concerns don't kind of get lost in the ether. Because that's not really doing service to your constituents, to us, to anyone really, especially for ones where we are actively investigating them. And so, and just a note on the 311 complaints, I also am understanding the limitations of 311, but it is always helpful for us to have these complaints logged because it does help us to create a historical record. Because when we are thinking about chronic locations throughout the city and understanding where we have systemic issues versus where we have one very loud constituent, which never happens. It's really great for us to have this historical record. And so while it is, I have often been on the phone with 311 many times, calling in random complaints in my neighborhood as well, it's really important to us at DEP to have these kinds of issues forwarded through 311 so we do create that record. But for these three, we will make sure that we get back to you with wherever we are in the process so that you have some updates.
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate that. And I would just add one, I think, and understanding all of this too, I would recommend strongly that you all look at a way to really create a much more on-the-ground rapid response system as quickly as possible. Because again, these three instances all happened in the last 2 months, really, and there's been no response. And a lot more serious instances like this will occur after storms, and so the agency has to be able to have some sort of rapid response communication. So the first instance on 31st Avenue, that requires a site visit. I've spoken to the commissioner directly about it. We'll get there. That may require more involved work. But the second two, after a month that we've raised it, and now constituents are coming forward raising what we spotted a while ago, I can go out on the street today and it's very clear to me in both those instances that I've seen firsthand, it just needs to be fixed. And so my hope is, and I raise it one at the level of, in these three instances, especially the latter two, they just need to be fixed. It's not a complicated process. The problem is very obvious. And so the agency needs to really have a way to, and they're not very involved issues, but it's getting lost in the bureaucracy. And I think it just requires immediate attention and immediate repairs to them. And the second thing is kind of broadening out on a more macro level, coming up with a system that really will allow for these small but serious and important liability-inducing repairs to be fixed right away, so you all can focus on the larger problems that do require more involved analysis and work. Thank you.
Councilmember Ressler.
Chair Brewer, thank you so much. Welcome back home. We missed you. Nothing? Nothing.
You never know what he's going to say.
It's always good to have Gail around.
Always good to have you. It's a long story.
Can I just first start, Deputy Commissioner, does the administration support intros 1200, 1201, and 1199?
So we have been looking at them, specifically, obviously, our agency has been looking at the two that would be in our code, and I know DEP is doing the same. I think there are some concerns and some things to work through. I would say on, we have been, since June, looking at building a plan, and we have put certain pieces in place. For example, when we had any severe heat and activated the heat plan, because not always, but often air quality and severe heat come together. So we have added the state DEC to those calls because they are the experts in the state on this. And we have also, as I mentioned before, added DOE to all the calls, added DCAS because we understand the, worker health and safety aspects. Also for messaging, people probably know, I'm sure you know, that we do send out the air quality alerts from DEC, but also, and there have been, thankfully, there's been nothing as strong as the June 7th air quality issues, but there have been some blips along the way, and so we have done enhanced messaging as per new protocols, both through Notify NY3, Notify NYC, through messaging through our press office and City Hall. So we will continue to strengthen that and work with you on those bills.
So on 1200 and 1201, the administration's position is in opposition, in support?
I don't know that we have a formal position at this point. Like I said, we understand the import, we appreciate the partnership, and we will continue to work to make it as effective as possible.
And 1199?
That's the...
Similarly, we are evaluating, and we don't have a formal position at this time.
Okay. I will just say this is I realize this one was calendared a little later in the process, but we introduced these bills many months ago, have been in touch with the agencies. At a minimum, we expect you all to come forward and express a position on the bill and to give feedback on them. And it's a little disappointing that we couldn't get a more direct response today. Deputy Commissioner Farrell, are the current protocols that you all have been developing relating to air quality emergencies, is that something that's publicly available for review or still in development?
They're still in development. We will. We are always happy, as you know, to talk through our process. As you also noted, we have been looking at other jurisdictions, notably, cities in California or other areas that have experience with this to understand what is the most effective way. So we will continue to talk with you and share things as they become available.
I appreciate that you are always responsive and accessible individually, and want to thank you for that. But it is critically important, and that's why we've introduced this legislation, that there be a clear emergency plan that New Yorkers are able to review and assess and know what to do when the next air quality emergency occurs. If the air quality index went up to 200 tomorrow, which hopefully it won't, what would be the policy for a street homeless New Yorker? Would they be able to walk in and access any shelter in New York City in a severe air quality emergency?
I would have to defer the specifics of the policy to the Department of Social Services, but I will also say, as we were increasing our discussions with DEC and others about air quality, When we had little blips over the summer, we were talking to DSS about, what that would look like and how their policies may adjust.
It was, one of the components of the city's response to the air quality emergency in June that was most troubling to me, and I think to many others, was there wasn't clear guidance provided to street homeless New Yorkers. When we have a code blue, just like it was 2 weekends ago, and it was under 32 degrees, homeless New Yorkers could walk into any shelter in New York City and be safe. We need clarity on that policy, and that's part of the reason we've introduced this package, because people our most vulnerable New Yorkers are in harm's way. I think it's about 10% of the population that accesses Notify NYC. How does the city expect the remaining 90% of the population to find out about dangerous events when we're not being proactive in our communication, when the mayor's not organizing press conferences, when the mayor's not giving clear direction? Do you know the percentage of seniors or older adults, I think I'm supposed to say, that are signed up for Notify NYC? Like, higher need populations, are they accessing the information that we're putting out through these text alerts?
So thank you. So we have about 1.2 million New Yorkers signed up, but I would say that that's far greater than 10%, because obviously, young children are not subscribing. I think it may be more now, but what we had seen before was about 3.5 million cell phones, or people that would sign up for Notify NYC. So it's a large number. But as I said before, we want that number to be everyone in the city, and we start as early as high school or junior high school if appropriate, telling people to download the app or to sign up. And it's also available in 14 languages. One thing as we look at seniors, we don't ask people, we do some voluntary surveys where people can give the demographic information you're asking about, and I can look to see what was in the last survey.
Yeah.
By and large, we don't ask people, for their age or other demographics to sign up. We want to make it as welcoming as possible.
1.2 million is progress, and Rome wasn't built in a day, and so appreciate that the numbers have moved in the right direction. But even if you add 1 million kids, we're still talking about over 6 million New Yorkers that are not receiving Notify NYC. So 6 out of 7 folks that you might hope were receiving it are not. And so, the mayor held no press conference before the air quality emergency in June, held no press conference before the terrible flooding events that overwhelmed our community in North Brooklyn in September. If he's not using his bully pulpit, there's only so much that Commissioner Iskel can do by doing a stray TV interview here or there. It's just inadequate. And so, it's a major concern for us that we're not getting the information out in the ways that it needs to be. I'd like to ask about clean air centers. Is this something that NYSEM is considering creating in your new protocols? The last time Commissioner Iskel testified here, he argued to us that it was unsafe for somebody who didn't have shelter or had poor air quality in their home in an air quality emergency to walk a few minutes to a clean air center. And just wanted to understand, does that continue to be NYSEM's approach, that clean air centers are potentially a greater health risk, which is not what we've heard from any public health professional we've spoken to on the matter?
Sure. I just wanted to finish
Sorry.
my answer. It's okay. To the earlier question, one thing about Notify NYC is that we do phone calls. You can sign up for direct phone calls. I still get them.
I do too.
So that is also, and you can call 311 to sign up. So, we want to encourage people that aren't on Twitter, aren't on their smartphone all day long to get those messages. I also wanted to mention that we do have the advanced warning system. That is something that goes out to providers and to people with disability and access functional needs, which those populations may overlap with some of the vulnerable New Yorkers that you're referencing. So Notify is the main emergency alert tool, but there are certainly others.
Right, but there was no communication to schools. There was no communication even to council members before the air quality emergency in any meaningful way. I appreciate that you all are trying to do what you can. It just doesn't feel like we have a cooperative city hall that is taking its responsibility seriously to engage and inform New Yorkers about the risks that we're facing. And It's not something, as you said, emergency management has 250 staff, and as committed and as they are, we need the full force of city government behind keeping us safe when emergencies arise. And it doesn't feel like we've had the attention of City Hall in certainly the last two major weather-related emergencies that have hit New York City.
As you know, we work with all our partners. We work closely with City Hall, and we are all committed to getting the information out. And I think that message has been heard loud and clear. Speaking about clean air centers, that is something we're looking into. It's not clear 100%. What that would look like. I will say, the closest thing we may have in the city is cooling centers. And cooling centers, as probably the council knows, are, senior centers, libraries. They are in existing buildings. I don't know if they would qualify as a clean air center. So that, I think, is a multi-pronged question that we would have to look at. The efficacy, how realistic it is, and how that would work. But we are committed to the messaging. We also have done things, as I think people know, every firehouse, every police station, every library branch in the city has masks available. And there has not been great uptake, I will say. New Yorkers have not taken advantage of that resource in any meaningful way. But just like we have, we told people during COVID, for 20 years, I've been telling people how to put together a go bag. We added masks for COVID a few years ago. We have now, added masks for potential air quality events. So we are looking at the places, all different ways that we can make New Yorkers safer.
We have 7 precincts and 2 PSAs in our district. We called them. None of them had a clue about masks during the air quality emergency. They didn't know they had them or that they were responsible for distributing them. There were 2 FDNY locations set up in the borough of Brooklyn with 3 million people in it. One was fortunately in our district, and I went out and thanked the FDNY staff on Tillery who were there. But the idea that was...
Councilmember, if you could just wrap up, because Councilmember Hanif has questions.
Apologies. If there's time for a second round, I'll come back. I just think that the lack of engagement and awareness on how we could stay safe in this moment was horribly scary, and people didn't know what to do or how to stay safe, and the information was not coming out from this administration in a clear and way, and that's why we need to move forward. But if time allows, I'll come back.
I just wanted to say one thing before we go to Commissioner Member Hanif, and she's here the night of the air quality emergency. Councilwoman Schulman, who I've known for a long time, called and asked if we could deliver masks, and so we did divert 5,000 masks that I know she gave out across Forest Hills. So, hear on what you're saying, but we also are very, especially before the storms, we also gave out personalized flood barriers for homeowners. So, we will take all partners, we will take all comers, and so if council members also want, masks or other things, just like Councilwoman Schulman did, we're happy to work with you to get those out.
Look, I appreciate it. I know, whenever we call you for help, you're accessible and responsive, and I appreciate it. We called every library and senior center in our district to see if it was a safe place that we could direct people to go as a clean air center in our community during the air quality emergency. We used the masks in our office to get them out to key locations across our district to make sure that people could access them. It just felt like we were operating on our own. And we know that these air quality emergencies are unfortunately a new reality that we have to reckon with, and that's why we want to make sure that there is a comprehensive protocol in place to keep New Yorkers safe. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Hanif asked me to ask a couple of questions. Number one, on the FEMA, I think what you said was that this particular flash flood did not rise to the extent of being able to apply for FEMA money. Is that correct?
It is. There are certain thresholds. What it did on our side, what it did qualify for was potential Small Business Administration low-interest loans. And so we are going through that process with the state and the federal government to see if they agree, and then those would be resources that are available.
Most small businesses want grants. They don't want loans.
Everyone wants grants,
yeah,
I know.
They don't want loans.
But
that's
we
very
work
nice
with the tools we have.
Okay, I'm just saying they're not going to take them. I'll promise you that. Number two is on the basement. I know you talked about the fact that you are working hard to do extra notification. Do you know how many people in basement apartments have signed up or are participating in your notification system. Maybe that's, I don't know if you could do some kind of a GIS on that.
No, we know. I checked yesterday. Right now, we launched this in September for the second anniversary of Hurricane Ida. Right now, we have 2,122 subscribers. Obviously, there are many basement apartments. We want many more subscribers, but like I said, we flag it every week, and we look at different ways that we can get it out. When we did the Day of Action back in August with our CERT members and with the council members, one thing that they did in the neighborhoods in Queens and the other boroughs was look specifically where it looked like there may be basement apartments and to talk to the people living there or leave information so they knew that this resource was available.
Okay. There's, I guess, some state legislation by Kavanaugh and Epstein. Is that something that you support? I assume that has to do with basement apartments. Do you know anything about that?
I know that State Legislative Affairs has been working on different things, but I'm not familiar with that specific legislation.
Okay. And the 9th Street high-level storm sewer upgrade, I don't know the status of that. Is that something that you're monitoring in terms of DEP?
We can get back to you with a schedule update for that project.
Okay, that's what she wants. That's what she wants to know. My other question quickly is, Ida took place. That was not a actual, rapid storm situation like we had on September 29th. But is there something that we could have learned from Ida that would have impact on September 29th?
So I would say, and I know I touched it upon on my testimony, we did learn a lot from Ida. That was, one of the first times where we saw such concentrated inland flooding. And so we have, I know that she testified about Rainfall Ready and the things going on like that. We've worked extensively with Councilwoman Ariola's office and other council members to give out the flood barriers and other items to help homeowners protect themselves. We have increased the basement messaging. And one thing that, a positive that came out of Ida is we have received a significant amount of recovery money through the federal CDBG grant money. And so we are using that to increase notify outreach to get more people signed up, looking at the forecasting consultant that I mentioned earlier, that comes out of that money, looking at specific outreach and other improvements we can make. So there will be more to come, but we learn from every storm. I mean, I think also just the scale, as people know, we didn't receive one request for sheltering after the September 29th storm, even after last year, the storm that happened mostly in the Rockaways right before Christmas last year. We actually sheltered people after that storm. Nobody asked for sheltering on September 29th. Thankfully, there were no serious injuries or fatalities, unlike Ida, so they were very different events, but we do take all of the information, everything that we learn, and incorporate it to do better in the future.
One last question is NYCHA and DEP. So my district, and I think elsewhere, daycare center gets flooded because NYCHA doesn't do the work to get the materials that are necessary to clean the catch basins. I assume that's their job. In other words, if it's on NYCHA property, those catch basins are to be cleaned by NYCHA or by you. The bad news is NYCHA doesn't do it. So the daycare is 2 feet of water. So how do you work with NYCHA and catch basins? That's my question.
Sure. So there are some city streets that run through NYCHA complexes. Those do have catch basins where DEP is responsible. For the ones that are interior drainage for the campuses themselves, those are the responsibility of NYCHA. However, where we can assist them and they ask for our help, we are happy to do so. It just often is that they are non-standard, which means that our equipment just is not the right size and can't really access the catch basin.
So the 150,000 catch basin number does not include catch basins on NYCHA property, is that correct?
Correct, it's only on city streets.
Okay, and so, but do you have any conversations, like does NYCHA know how to clean catch basins? Do you have any conversations? I'm like trying to find ways that agencies aren't so siloed so that you do talk to each other. Is there like ongoing conversations, perhaps talking to them about what did happen during this storm or others regarding catch basins?
So we have a number of operational relationships with NYCHA regarding things like water leaks or other types of infrastructure issues. On catch basins in particular, I'm not entirely sure if we have an ongoing relationship about how to clean them, but if they did ask for support, we'd be happy.
All right, thank you very much.
I'll also just mention with NYCHA, they are part of our calls, our consults, and our EOC activations. The Director of Emergency Management at NYCHA was formerly the Director of our Watch Command, and so he understands this business very intimately and well. And so, you know, we talk to them if there are other, like she said, if there are different equipment or things that they need. But if there are specific developments that you know have issues and you want to talk with us in NYCHA about, we're happy to facilitate that
I
conversation.
think as a result of this conversation, I'm going to ask them what the status is of all of their catch basins, and do they have the kind of protocol that DEP does? How much do I bet that they do not? And then because so that's what they need, and they need to do that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll go to public testimony. You are a really informed group of public officials, and we appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Before we turn to public testimony, we will first hear from Britt Bird from the Brooklyn Borough President's Office. Please wait for the sergeant to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. Thank you. You may begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Chairs Brewer and Ariola, and thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Britt Bird. I'm a senior planner in the office of Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso. On September 29th, a life-threatening rainstorm dropped up to 7+ inches of rain on Brooklyn. To put this in perspective, according to the Weather Channel, the city on average gets about 4.3 inches for the entire month of September. The storm left commuters stranded as subways shut down, flooded schools, trapped people in basement apartments, and caused damage to homes and vehicles, and generally created dangerous conditions across the city. Extreme weather events like this are becoming more common due to climate change. As outlined in the Borough President's recently released comprehensive plan for Brooklyn, we are facing increased threats from both coastal inundation and stormwater flooding. As you can see in the attached maps, this impacts every neighborhood in the borough. The chaos on September 29th was a cautionary tale that underscores the importance of preparation for these weather events and clear communication with the public about them. We have tools to achieve this, including a 2021 report from the de Blasio administration's Extreme Weather Response Task Force that called for strengthening interagency coordination, improving communication with vulnerable communities, property owners, and the public, and utilizing data to inform decision-making, in addition to preventative measures such as infrastructure upgrades. It is critical that the administration develop data-driven protocols for communicating risk to the public. According to FEMA's best practices for issuing emergency alerts, an effective alert includes sufficient information for the public to understand the incident and risk, and to guide and urge the public to take appropriate protective actions. Right now, Notify NYC's alerts are brief, and the content users received in advance of the September 29th flooding event was very similar to what they received in advance of a much less extreme storm only a few days earlier. This inconsistency can leave users unsure whether to take these warnings seriously. MOC-EJ's upcoming study on climate vulnerability, impact and adaptation is engaging the private sector in developing climate projections, characterizing rainfall events, and creating a coastal flooding vulnerability index. Using this type of information to inform who receives alerts, when, and what actions are suggested will create a clear and trustworthy system that New Yorkers can rely on. Yet clear and consistent information only goes so far if it doesn't reach its intended audience. While Notify NYC's 1.1 million subscriber number and availability language options are impressive, this leaves more than 5.5 million New York City adults who don't subscribe. The need for users to have an NYC ID or existing social media account, not to mention remembering their password, to access the system seems unnecessary and prohibitive and creates concerns about data privacy. The comprehensive plan for Brooklyn makes additional recommendations for addressing storm impacts in the borough, and we look forward to the Council's partnership as we develop more specific proposals. These include through a zoning text amendment requiring evacuation plans for new construction in floodplains, requiring new construction projects to follow the city's climate resiliency design guidelines, encouraging the Department of Environmental Protection to upgrade sewer infrastructure in areas that experience persistent stormwater flooding, and identifying opportunities for nature-based solutions for stormwater capture in the public realm to mitigate flooding. Borough President Reynoso also supports the 3 proposals from Councilmember Ressler being heard today regarding preparedness for air quality emergencies. We submitted testimony to the council on this issue generally in September, and the BP wants to commend Councilmember Ressler for developing thoughtful, comprehensive, and data-driven solutions. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and we look forward to working with the council to create a safer and greener city.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you very much. We will now turn to public testimony. We will be limiting public testimony today to 2 minutes each. Please note that if your prepared testimony exceeds 2 minutes, in addition to testifying before the committees today, you may submit your full testimony to the record up to 72 hours after the close of this hearing by emailing it to testimony@council.nyc.gov. If you are here to testify in person and you have not yet completed a witness slip, please visit the sergeant's table and complete a witness slip now, even if you registered to testify online. For in-person panelists, please come up to the table once your name has been called. For virtual panelists, once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you and the sergeant-at-arms will set the timer and give you the go-ahead to begin. Please wait for the sergeant to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. Now I will call up to testify in person, Raul Rivera.
Good afternoon or good morning. My name is Raul Rivera. I'm a TLC driver and a TLC driver advocate. I'm a native New Yorker. We may be a little raw and a little harsh, but we do it with love. I just want to read off a few points that I just jotted down. First, we say no to City of Yes. That's what we say. If it's coming from Adams, be very suspect. Weaponizing of climate change, that's happening. That's a real thing. The weaponization of climate change, that's a real thing. So now I just want to read a few points. 1960s, oil gone in 10 years. 1970s, another ice age in 10 years. 1980s, acid rain will destroy crops in 10 years. 1990s, the ozone layer will be gone in 10 years. 2000, ice caps will be gone in 10 years. None happened, but all resulted in more taxes. We live in a concrete jungle. Concrete and asphalt do not absorb water. Stop the climate hoax. Greta Thunberg, everybody knows Greta Thunberg, right? Greta Thunberg and AOC, sustainable tanks and biodegradable missiles. Climate change, the way it's being fed to New Yorkers and Americans is a hoax. I believe in climate change, but not the way it's being fed to us. It's too bad you guys ain't listening. You're looking at your cell phones. I'm trying to testify here, but nobody's paying attention. Bob Holden, thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention. We thank you so much, and that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. We will now turn to online witnesses. We will first hear from Victoria Sanders, followed by Benjamin Young, followed by Adam Roberts. Please wait for the Sergeant-at-Arms to announce that you may begin before starting your testimony. And we'll first hear from Victoria Sanders.
Starting time.
Hi, my name is Victoria Sanders, and I'm here representing the New York City Environmental Justice Alliance. We are a citywide membership network linking grassroots organizations from low-income communities of color in their struggle for environmental justice. I will be submitting longer written testimony, but I did want to make a few key points here today to you. So first, I'd like to lend NEJA's support to Councilmember Ressler's air quality emergency bills. These 3 bills show an awareness of the realities our city's most vulnerable residents are facing and the care and intention that Ressler's team has put to understanding the problems and finding concrete, effective solutions to work towards mitigating them. So thank you so much, Ressler and your team. We hope these bills will serve as blueprints for creating bills and plans for all of the different types of environmental and climate-driven emergencies and threats that New York City can expect to face now and in the future. These threats are multiple, varied, and existential. People's homes, communities, and lives are at ever-increasing risk due to these many escalating threats, and they don't impact the city evenly. Low-income communities of color have been and continue to be the most deeply negatively impacted by these threats, and therefore deserve our special support and investment. We need the mayor's office and city agencies to learn from past missteps and adjust their emergency responses accordingly. They can tell us over and over again about their existing programs, but we know that these programs are not enough. They aren't reaching enough people with their communications. They aren't giving accessible, understandable, and timely advice and resources when emergencies loom and occur. They are falling short of the promises they continue to make. We can and should be doing more to protect the most vulnerable in our city, and we ask City Council to continue pressing for more, to continue demanding better for your constituents. So many plans and programs and promises have been released and lauded, but little has actually come to fruition. Please hold the city accountable for these promises and the effectiveness of those promises. We need more than theoretical unfunded plans, which have good ideas but no clear approach to follow through. There's so much planning and work that has already been done during this and previous administrations that we could draw from, including but not limited to Adapt NYC, Plan YC, Rainfall Ready NYC, the New Normal Report, and more. But where are we on a lot of these plans? How much progress has been made? And what can the city show us to prove that these actions have been effective? We need to stop restarting the process, doing more research. Like we have so much information that we should be using. So we hope that the city will keep that in mind. So we need to work smarter and meet the undeniable realities of today. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We'll now hear from Benjamin Young, followed by Adam Roberts.
Starting time.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Young, Senior Program Manager for Strategic Initiatives at the New York Academy of Sciences, and I'm here today to tell you about a new initiative that's helping scientists prepare for and respond to large-scale complex crises like severe floods that you've been discussing. Founded by the New York Academy of Sciences last year, building on lessons learned from global responses to the COVID-19 pandemic, and with the idea that science should prepare in advance of major global crises, this initiative is called the International Science Reserve. Since we launched last year, over 6,000 scientists have joined the ISR from over 100 countries. We have a healthy representation among New York-based scientists from our wonderful local institutions and organizations. One of our programs consists of exercises based around crisis scenarios to prepare scientists to use their work in very large-scale crises. When a crisis hits, we facilitate access to scientific and technical resources such as geospatial data and high-performance computing. And recently, we convened a panel around large-scale transboundary flooding, an increasing issue for cities worldwide and something we know a thing or two about in New York City. Flooding is increasing in magnitude and frequency around the world, with some cities suffering multiple deadly floods over the course of just the past year, such as in Kentucky and Florida. The World Bank reports that of the 500 million people worldwide at risk of flooding, 1/3 is living in poverty, making them especially vulnerable. And of course, urban coastal areas like New York City are particularly vulnerable as well. So we asked our panel to explore how scientific and technical experts can contribute to flood preparation and prevention and response. We heard from a professor based in Nairobi, 2 US scientists, an expert in flood modeling from IBM, and the chief meteorologist from a weather forecasting startup that focuses on emergencies. Some of the takeaways were about how scientists from varied fields must work together, which is at the core of what the International Science Reserve does, and that one of the real challenges lies in protecting the most vulnerable communities that we were just talking about. There was also discussion of how emerging AI tools and data sets will have an increasingly important role. But I'll leave it there, knowing time is limited, and just thank you very much for listening. And please be in touch if you have any questions or you want to hear more about the International Science Reserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We'll next hear from Adam Roberts.
Starting time.
Thank you for holding this hearing today. I am Adam Roberts, Policy Director for the Community Housing Improvement Program, also known as CHIP. We represent New York's housing providers, including apartment building owners and managers. We are here to express concerns about the city's policies regarding the notification of flooding and other hazards for tenants. In the last few years, the city has focused on addressing safety risks to tenants through notifications and leases. This has left tenants overwhelmed with information, preventing them from having an understanding of how to stay safe in their homes. Examining my own lease, 32 out of 49 pages, which is 65% of my lease, is composed of legally mandated notifications. There are 2 pages for bed bugs, 7 pages for a fire safety plan, 1 page for gas leaks, 2 separate indoor allergen notifications. One is 1 page and the other is 2 pages, 14 pages of an emergency preparedness guide, 1 page for sprinkler disclosure, 1 page for stove knob covers, 1 page for window guards, and 2 pages for lead paint. Since I signed my lease, an additional 1-page floodplain notification is now required. Yet the city is requiring more notifications and leases. Last month, Intro 122923 was introduced, requiring leases to include flood evacuation plans. This flood evacuation plan would join the already mandated emergency preparedness guide and floodplain notification, both of which already cover flooding. Rather than overwhelming tenants with information, much of which requires technical expertise to understand, the council should push for policies that eliminate these various risks. While removing hazards is expensive, doing so will be much more impactful than notifications. Rather than mandating more notifications for flooding, the council should be examining how to make floods less deadly, such as funding the replacement of gas boilers in flood-prone basements with heat pumps on roofs. The city is already pursuing this policy in NYCHA, yet has provided no funding to do so in its struggling rent-stabilized housing, much of which is located in floodplains. We hope that the council will work to ensure only the most critical information is provided to tenants, that the information provided is brief and comprehensible, and that eliminating hazards is prioritized first and foremost. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We have now heard from everyone who has signed up to testify. If we inadvertently missed anyone who would like to testify in person, please visit the sergeant's table and complete a witness slip now. If we inadvertently missed anyone who would like to testify virtually, please use the raise hand function in Zoom and I will call on you in the order of hands raised. Seeing no one else, I would like to note that written testimony, which will be reviewed in full by committee staff, may be submitted to the record up to 72 hours after the close of this hearing by emailing it to testimony@council.nyc.gov. And now I'll turn it back over to Chair Ariola to close us out.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank everyone who came here today to give public testimony and who testified from the administration. I'd like to thank our committee counsel, Josh Kingsley, our senior policy analyst, Will Hongash, and my chief of staff, Phyllis Cirillo, as well as Chair Brewer for the wonderful hearing we've had today and the information that was garnered. Thank you so very much.